My name is Dr. Jacqueline Pye. I am the Senior Research Lead for the Canada FASD Research Network. I'm also a professor at the University of Alberta, and I have the pleasure of doing a lot of research in partnership with CanFASD and many of the CanFASD community partners around the country. It's really my pleasure to be here. I am so excited for this presentation. I just have to add that. I just want to acknowledge that an important step in reconciliation is the acknowledgement of traditional treaty lands and recognition for the people of the territory. The Canada FASD Research Network recognizes the historical significance and contributions of Indigenous peoples and their cultures, and understands the important role that the Indigenous community plays today and in the future. We acknowledge that we live, work, and meet on traditional territories across Canada, many of First Nation, Métis, and Inuit, whose footsteps have marked these lands for centuries. I'd like to acknowledge that. I acknowledge that for myself, I'm joining you all from Treaty 6 territory in Alberta, and express deep appreciation for Indigenous community members who have shared wisdom with me over the years. I'm deeply appreciative of those partnerships and offer gratitude to communities for the warm reception and community support I've received. So thank you. The Claudette Bradshaw Award is awarded annually and celebrates the work of individuals and organizations across Canada who have created innovative solutions to address FASD in their communities. It was named in honor of the late Claudette Bradshaw to recognize her work on FASD, early education, and homelessness. I think of this as a particularly special award that we hand out. I think that so much of the work done in the FASD community is about grassroots and community initiatives, and appreciate the fact that this award gives us the opportunity to really celebrate that innovation and creativity that comes from communities. And so this is very exciting for me. And on that note, I'm really excited today to introduce our presenters and the recipients of this year's Claudette Bradshaw Innovation Award. Joining us today are Jennifer Noah and several of her team members from the Piruqatigiit. See, now they're gonna give me an education on enunciation yet. I swear I practiced, guys. Resource Centre. There are a handful of presenters joining us today. We're really fortunate to be joined by many members of this community. So I'm going to keep some introductions very short and just identify the folks who are joining us today. And then they will tell you a little bit more about themselves, as well as other partners that are important members of their community. Jennifer Noah is the co-executive director and co-founder of the Piruqatigiit Resource Centre. And Jennifer, you want to wave? Everyone can kind of wave. Yeah, there's Jennifer, yay. Miali Kunilusi is the co-executive director at the Resource Centre. There's Miali. Yeah, thanks. I feel like there's so many, it helps. Noah is the co-founder and family advisor at the center. Thanks, Noah. Adrian Taguna is the community outreach and clinical coordinator at the center. I know you get your own special spot there, Adrian. That's great. It makes it easier. Amber Miners, the pediatrician from the center, is joining us as well. And last but definitely not least, we have Chris Aluki, who is one of the helpers, part-time child and youth helper with the center, who will also join and help out with the Q&A. Hey, Chris. With that, I am going to mercifully stop talking and turn it over to this remarkable team to tell us more about themselves and their program. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jackie. Jennifer Noah. We have a little slideshow that we were going to have, so we can speak to the slides as kind of prompts as we go along. And we really encourage any questions along the way. I think Kirsten's going to share that with us. And you can go to the Quebec slide, please, Kirsten.
Welcome. And we as Inuit would use Claudette to keep hot to keep it warm and to cook and everything. But nowadays we don't use them anymore because we live in houses, but we use them for like any sessions or teachings. And I'll be reading Juvena's note, who was going to be here. She cannot be here, so I'll be reading. I want to share how Piruqatigiit Resource Centre is grounded in Inuit Qaujimajatuqangit. It gives up Inuit opportunity to be part of decision making and how to develop programs that are relevant to Inuit needs. It is the first nonprofit that is open to listening to Inuit in the community. Piruqatigiit is true to its title, Growing Together, as we gain more knowledge about FASD. The more we are giving space for Inuit values such as Tamata, meaning we all of us are, regardless of race, are to work towards working together and are responsible for all. I'm honored to be part of Piruqatigiit team. I'm proud of Jennifer and Noa for being our leaders of this organization. They are our key players. They give Inuit voice and space. Inuit guiding principle, helping each other. With Inuit equally. This is what Shubina wrote.
Yeah. Thanks for lighting the bullet for us, Mia.
So I'm gonna turn around the bullet for a bit so you guys can see what it looks like. I've been tending it. It has canola oil, that's what keeping it going. And the manik is Walungwa, Arctic cotton. And we keep tending it like this to keep the fire going. And it smells amazing and it's nice and warm. And this is made out of soapstone, and the bottom one is a regular rock.
Can we switch slides, please, Kirsten? The reason why Kirsten is doing the slides for us is because our internet is, just a little bit slow north of 60. So we didn't want to risk being the ones with the slides. So thank you for doing that for us, Kirsten. So Noa and I are just going to talk a little bit about the early days of founding Piruqatigiit and why. And then we'll transition into other presenters. Do you feel like taking it away? Okay.
So in the beginning, it really was born out of necessity. When we lived in Ontario, the services for FASD were almost non-existent, and those services we did come across were not very helpful at all. So when we made the move Nunavut back in 2016, moved back, we talked a lot about starting something up. So I'm really, in the beginning, it was a lot of just Jennifer and I talking to different departments, which was really nice. It was
well, we'd have to take a lot of time off of work to do that. So we were kind of volunteering and delivering presentations, and it was hard. And I guess we're just gonna bounce off each other a little bit. I hope it's okay for those of you watching to follow us. When we were living in Nunavut, and we actually left Nunavut because we knew that the needs of our child were going to be fairly high. And at the time in 2012, there were no FASD services or really FASD informed service providers. So we left and we moved to Ontario thinking that was going to be helpful. And like Noah said, it was really challenging. And so when we came back in 2016, yes, we started, people started to ask us to give presentations. I think our first one in Iqaluit was at Nunavut Arctic College.
I believe it was.
And then we did some for RCMP and young offenders, and it just kind of grew. And we and our friends and colleagues and community members and families who were reaching out to us were really strongly pushing us to found an organization, start something that was bigger than us, that could grow. And hence the name Piruqatigiit, which means to grow together, as Shuv and I shared with her words. So there's a little bit of a timeline there from 2016 to 2018, kind of some of the activities that Noah and I were involved in kind of getting the center off the ground. And I should say too, and Noah speaks to this in our online Tamata community training, FASD awareness training. He talks a lot about the importance of, I'm going blank. Sorry, I need a moment.
It must be this.
What was I going to say? Oh, about, that's it. A piece that was happening at the same time as the early days, like 2014, 2015, 2016, there were some really damaging quote unquote health promotion messaging in Nunavut that really caused a lot of harm. And even though when we were founding the organization, we knew that our work would be more centered on people and families who think they might have an FASD or know they do. It was important to us that we really worked on a safe conversation about FASD. So that was really central at the beginning too, was just really kind of, I don't know how to say this, but there wasn't a safe conversation happening. And so.
Yeah, and the imaging put up back then, I think, was more harmful than helpful.
Yeah. So that was kind of the work where it got started, where our roots for the organization are. And also, Noah talks in the videos too about wanting our kiddo and other people in Nunavut to know that it's safe and it's okay to talk about FASD and to normalize neurodiversity, and just to have safe conversations, and really around inclusion that are grounded in Inuit Qaujimajatuqangit. So I think we can switch slides, please. Do you want to talk about our gathering?
Yeah, I think the gathering, it really laid the foundation for where we are today. That really bedded everything in the IQ principles. I think that was really important to have the elders' input.
We have a picture here. This would have been September of 2018, so a little ways into existing. We didn't have a space yet at this point, so we rented a different space together for 3 days together. And we have Simon and Annie Nuttall, who were a part of our foundational IQ conversations about FASD. Annie Nepayok was in the front, passed away recently and is actually Noah's biological great auntie. So it was really special that she got to be a part of these conversations from the Kivalik region, giving her input around both FASD prevention conversations around pregnancy and community connections, but also learning and speaking to how do we support and wrap around people and families who may have or do have an FASD. And Piruqatigiit was also present and contributed tremendously to those 3 days. He works mostly with folks who are justice involved, but also through Piruqatigiit in which is an organization really grounded in Inuit Qaujimajatuqangit and traditional practices and teaching land-based skills and those kinds of things. So they were really pivotal those 3 days. And then Shuvanai Mike, who's in the center there. And then we had Noah helping to inform, and we had Amy Lewis and Veronica Atagoya. And so we kept that circle going for about 1.5 years until COVID happened. The elders actually delivered programming and continue to inform the model. So we wanted to acknowledge them and just how important their knowledge sharing and teaching was, and how much they appreciated conversations and learning about FASD. So we so over those 3 days, using the literature, what we know about FASD in Western science was presented, and we would kind of unpack what we know about FASD, what we know about FASD prevention conversations, and also some of those wise or promising practices that are also in the literature. And so over those 3 days, we unpacked them, and there was just such a beautiful exchange of knowledge, and also how everybody present talked about the symmetry between Inuit Qaujimajatuqangit and what Western science is talking about that are a wise or best practice as an intervention. So it was really cool, and all of the individuals that were present are working in community, in wellness, or working with folks who are struggling with mental health. And it was really eye-opening for them to learn and talk more about FASD. So do you have anything more to add?
No.
Okay, okay, we can switch. Did you want to add a mention of IQ? Yes, we should, yes. What do you want to?
IQ is Inuit Qaujimajatuqangit. What are in a person in the Malikut, Upalo in the Maligan in the Malikut? In traditional values, yes, that's what it is. Following our values and stuff. Teachings and stuff.
And in research world, like epistemology, like living epistemology around knowledge, also encompassing language, and just how rooted ways of knowing, doing, and being are to language and tradition. So we're so lucky, and even that day, almost everybody there was unilingual or we're speaking in Inuktitut. So we would have like English and Inuktitut slides at the same time, a simultaneous interpreter recording English and Inuktitut, and even our exchanges and conversation for Noah and I, who are not very fluent in Inuktitut, some basic conversational Inuktitut, but that we could have this beautiful knowledge exchange over those 3 days together to really form the foundation of what Piruqatigiit would be, and to almost receive their, I don't know if blessing or, but like support, hey,
Yeah.
like that they really
Support
were
/ blessing.
yeah, really excited about the work, and about that, especially being a nonprofit, that even though funding can be tricky, that we can use innovation to create programming and resources and do things differently that maybe government departments can't do. So we got started right away. So we can change the slide now. Do you want me to speak to Tom with that?
Yes.
Okay. So we put the same visual there, English, Inuit Qaujimajatuqangit and Inuit Qaujimajatuqangit. This is just sort of a holistic picture of the Tamata model that came out of those 3 days, that just incorporates like the self, but also connection to community. I need to put my glasses on. Information, providing information and support, links to cultural knowledge, and being rooted and grounded in tradition and practices such as Chris and Miali were talking about. Also that our organization is inclusive of families, and not just families, whoever you identify as your family. So when people access the center, we kind of provide like a circle of support, or tamata, all of us together. And so we're trying to close gaps that way and be responsive to family needs and strengths. And then certainly land, connection to the land, the water, animals, and all of the important practices that happen in Nunavut. Can we switch to the next slide, please, Kirsten? I just wanted to add too that from that 3-day, and then again we met for a 1.5 years with the elders in particular. So like I was saying earlier, like the Tamata model, all of us together, is certainly our approach to supporting people who may have or do have an FASD, but also that Tamata is important around the FASD prevention conversation as well. And so it sort of doubles that all of us together, so community members wrapping around pregnant people, parents, families, but also people on the sort of on the other side of that conversation who may have an FASD, have received that same wraparound support and care. When you read Shubhanai's words, Shubhanai talked about Piruqatigiit, which means respecting others' relationships and caring for people, and also Tunkanaunik, which is fostering good spirit by being open, welcoming, and inclusive. The elders settled on those 2 values or principles as our core. And so that's sort of what anchors everything we do through that lens. And so even when we're talking about rights-based, you know, we're advocating for a family, or providing care and support to someone, we're always kind of anchoring everything through that lens in everything that we do. What's the next one? Okay, we can go to the next one. Thank you. Do you innovation?
Yeah. These are Inuit Qaujimajatuqangit, and we are guided by Inuit societal values. One of the main points I wanted to take was to talk about was being innovative. You know, we're in Nunavut, so everything we get is by barge or by air, and barge only comes during summertime. So a lot of times we have to be innovative with the things we do at the center for the families. Like for example, one of the things is the teachings of the Qur'an, how to keep the Qur'an on and how to tend it, and what teaches you, like it teaches you a lot of patience and stuff. And also Piruqatigiit, serving and providing for a family and or the community. Yeah, we use all of these IQ principles in everything we do at the center. And these are coming from our tradition, our elders, so we use them a lot. Ayan naman.
Next one.
Yeah.
Okay, next slide, please.
So program and resource innovation, like we have to be very innovative, like we think of when we're doing things,
Oh, we just have to pivot. We have to think like Miali's talking about even access to materials or resources. And also like we're 25 fly-in communities in Nunavut, so geographically, you know, it's not as accessible. There's no roads connecting those communities, so we have to kind of think outside the box. And I also want to acknowledge I am not Inuit, so I never want to be appropriating knowledge. I'm just sharing what's been shared with me and what I've been encouraged to share. But speaking to that point about Inuit constantly using innovation and thinking for not only for survival, but for just, you know, innovation is just at everybody's core here. I mean, even when I'm at a loss of something and Miali or Trina or Adrian or anyone on the team will say, well, what about if we do it this way? Or I have this, let's put it together. And all of a sudden we have a new program or we have a resource that we didn't have before. Mostly because we just kind of have to roll and think outside the box. And if we get stuck in a community because there's a blizzard for 3 days, let's make the most out of that time there, and let's think ahead, plan ahead, which is also an important Inuit societal value, and bring extra resources with us, and find different ways to make a connection in that community. But I think what you were kind of speaking to, Miali, was just we have to be innovative with our programming all the time. And if we go through the slides, it'll show how IQ has guided the innovation that we've kind of had to utilize at the center. Okay.
I was gonna say, like as a medical practitioner, right? Like it's really been fun because we were always taught like this resource, this program is the same like out of Ottawa or out of wherever it is. This is supposed to be the standard, but you try and do something like that here and it's not gonna work. Right. So you're kind of forced to be innovative, and it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah.
But you get to, you get to change it and make it work for the people you're trying to make it work for.
So good point.
Yeah.
Yes, much like our clinic. That's one of the things we'll talk about. But we can change the slide, please, Kristen.
So these are the resources we have. They are in English and Inuktitut. And we're in the process of getting Inuit Qaujimajatuqangit and French. So we'll have 4 official languages in all of our resources. You can also find this on our website, and we also have them on hand in booklets at the center.
I'm just gonna piggyback off of this, Miali, because there weren't resources in Nunavut. We didn't have literature like this or a 1-page handout, with basics around what is FASD or what's out there for my child or myself, or my friend. These things didn't exist. So I think that's another part of the innovation and why we talked about being innovative at our core, is that we kind of we use what we have and we create resources on the fly sometimes, but some of them take, some of these took 2 years before they were, finally ready for public domain. But we knew there was a really big gap to fill, and we just kind of poured into it. And that's another way that I think Melly was highlighting about being innovative.
Yeah, and these are like pretty much living documents, because words are always changing, and we're always changing words to make them more appropriate or less like harmful for everyone. And like to have kind words, use kind words, especially in Inuktitut, because we are like service providers, and a lot of the people in smaller communities are more Inuktitut speaking.
That's a good point, and that makes me think of the work that Shubhanai's been doing. Yeah. So I guess that's that for folks outside of Nunavut. The 4 official languages that Miali mentioned. So anything that, for example, the government of Nunavut puts out has to be in English, Inuktitut, French, and Inuit. So we've always prioritized English Inuktitut, and as much as we can around Inuit. There's a lot fewer Inuit speakers and writers, but we're working on it. But Shubhanai has been working on terminology pretty much from the beginning. So that's a really good point, because even in that 3-day gathering that we had, and the elders were contributing to terms that we were going to use, and even those terms are starting to evolve and change, that are promoting dignity, that are clear and they make sense in Inuktitut or Inuktitut. But it's really difficult, because like Amber was saying too, like we keep up with CanFASD terms and terminology, and it's so important that things are done not literally translated, and then it's more around concepts and how do we do this safely. And so we've been working on, and it's innovative. Another one of our projects is actually creating a terminology guide in Inuktitut, including all 3 regions of Nunavut, to kind of try to unify some terms. Again, that'll be a living document, but that's the kind of work that it just wasn't being done. So we have been innovative. There you go. Okay. We can change to the next slide, please.
These are the books we have. We also do Inuktitut reading night. We also did Inuktitut reading night, and this.
Yeah, sure. So the one visual there, it's self-explanatory, but we aren't often solicited for these things. We just do them. So that's the innovation, because we know the gaps, and one of the important pieces of literature that we've created in Nunavut by Nunavut educators and guided by IQ was a handbook for Nunavut educators. So that is really important, and we're pretty proud of that. Also featured is a children's book that well, it's Noah and my daughter helped to co-author with the center. And that's a pretty cool resource. Again, when you're thinking about trying to talk about FASD with children, even youth, in particular, people who don't have an FASD, how do you create awareness for different folks? So again, we were innovative in thinking, let's make a children's book that has some information, and it'll hopefully even help the adults who might be reading it or teachers in their classroom. And actually Chris here, who's in NTEP, becoming a teacher in Nunavut, has developed a lesson plan, a lesson guide for educators, for Nunavut educators to use this book in different ways for different themes to connect to curriculum around inclusion, diversity, neurodiversity, brain, body. And then we have our FASD photo story project. So again, another innovative way to create awareness, to talk safely about FASD. We did a cross Nunavut photo. I guess if we were making it a research project, it would be photo voice. But we kept it just to create a beautiful coffee table book of photos with a really small short story or a few words explaining what that photo represented to the individuals that submitted them. So those are some of the cool books that we've created. Next, yeah.
We run programs, and this is what we have at the center. The first photo is that says our sensory spaces and program for families. We call that the quiet room, the relaxing room, the calming room, to help any children with any neurodiversities or any children to calm and relax. Like it's a little room where they can come and relax if needed. And these are also our resources, like the fidgets, the human spaghetti maker. Kids usually love that one. And we have the climbing room, we call it the sensory room, and we run a program every Thursday for families in need of a place to have like a safe place for their children to play. And also have somewhere to go. In Nunavut, there's not a lot of things to do or places to go or safe places to go to. So as you can see in the picture, we run this program every Thursday night. We ran one last night. Chris and I did it last night, and we had like maybe 5 or 6 children altogether that came. And it's like 45 minutes each for each session at the sensory night. Again, this is being innovative and coming up with things that we can do to help families and being patient with everyone.
Go to the next slide, please.
We have an online training, FASD training, fetal alcohol spectrum disorder training in Inuit and English. We also have it in DVD and USB. And from what we've heard, it's very helpful. It has been helpful to get the information or learn about FASD to help everyone.
I just want to speak to the innovative part about our online training. I think we've probably spoken enough about how there was a lack of FASD, what's the right word? Not just awareness, but learning. Yeah, like being FASD informed in the territory. And so this was an innovative way for us to create training that was self-led, video-based, but also because internet connectivity is so poor and some people don't have access to internet, we put it on DVD and USB. DVD, a little bit of a dated technology. We had to really source that. But again, that's what the community asked for. So we really try to be responsive when people say this is what they need. And so it's in English and Inuit too. And the goal of this training, which you also get a certificate at the end, was really to start to create a baseline of FASD awareness for service providers, for community members, for families, and we're working on 4 professional series as well. So that's coming in the next fiscal. It's okay. Yeah, we're just gonna ignore the phone. Okay, we can. All right.
So this is FASD assessment clinic. We recently ran our clinic at the center. One of our clinicians is here, Amber.
Okay. We had to be innovative with funding to make this possible. I don't know, we won't spend too much time here because I know we're getting low on time and want to connect Adrian to speak about programming too. But the 2 pictures here, one is of the Igloo Hotel and one is of our center here in Iqaluit. So Adrian's in Baker in the second photo, and we're going to be bringing our multidisciplinary team to Baker and bringing you know, as much as we can, making a clinic accessible, a pediatric assessment clinic accessible for Nunavummiut that didn't previously exist. And there was a lot of resistance for the last 4.5 years of us founding. The main sort of reason why we founded was to provide support before an assessment to help link families with an assessment, and of course to provide ongoing wraparound support. There was a lot of resistance from funders and just the territory in general. So we're really excited and proud to be here now in 2022 and able to actually offer a bilingual, safe assessment for families. And for those of you who live and work in FASD world, you know it's quite a grueling assessment process. And so our whole team, all hands on deck, have been there to walk families through the assessment process and provide ongoing recommendations. Again, being innovative, connecting with schools, and that continuous follow-up support. So it's not just here's your assessment, here's your diagnosis or not, and off you go. It's very different. I don't know if Amber wants to speak to that for a minute or not.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to say like the goal, like it really has been like a safe, culturally grounded, close to home assessment, which I know like as a clinician, people have been asking for a long time. So it's really, really nice to be able to bring that to people. Yeah.
And then we'll switch slides and then Adrian can take it away in Baker Lake.
Hi, my name's Adrian Donna. I'm located in our satellite office in Baker Lake. I'll be speaking about our programming that we've done in Iqaluit and in Baker. So in the photos, if you see the photos, there's a few different photos of different programs. In 2019, I helped assist in developing and coordinating 2 separate summer camps for children and youth who live with FASD or ADHD. So the first summer camp was for 1 week for children who live with FASD or ADHD. And then we did another week where it was separate for their siblings and loved ones. All our camps were based outside, depending on the weather. We had a few rainy days. So all the activities that we did was guided by Inuit Qaujimajatuqangit, where we went on a boating trip with We hired a contractor. They took us out with the kids. We did a lot of fishing, a lot of cooking outside, sensory play, picking plants. We did a scavenger hunt where I did a plant teaching for them. They enjoyed that because they got to make bannock with their scavenger goodies. And then there's a few other photos. There's one at the bottom left corner that is our Little Stars program that I helped facilitate with Chris Aluki in Nakalui when I was in school. That specific program was for children and youth who live with FASD or neurodiversity. That was guided by Inuit Qaujimajatuqangit. We did a lot of foundation building. It was to help build a strong foundation for the children and youth. We did sewing programs. We would offer snacks, and then there's the two with the Lego. Those are recent pictures from Baker. We did a Christmas craft program last weekend. That was a good turnout because it was kind of our first program because of COVID. The kids loved it. They just couldn't get enough of the games, and they couldn't believe that there's a center like that in Baker now, because I mostly work behind the scenes. So that was good. I enjoyed that. If you go to the next slide. So there's some pictures from the summer camps. So last fall, Iqaluit and Baker Center did a makeup tutorial that was co-facilitated by Jennifer and her panik. And that was fun. That was a huge turnout. Then we did a book signing at the elementary school with Adele and her parents. That was also fun, and it was nice to see my own hometown community have like a visitor from another community, and they have like she's a youth too, like a child. So that was nice. It was nice to see. What else? Sorry, I'm kind of nervous here.
It's okay.
You can go to the next slide. So we did some adult programming in Baker, and we offered like a healing camp. That was like a 1-week program where adults were able to sign up for the Angilvik Wellness Camp. It was a holistic approach to land-based healing. That was fun. We were taught from an elder how to cook outside traditional food. You could see it in the picture with the pot. We ate a lot of country food. We did a lot of outdoor activities. Even though the weather wasn't cooperating, it was still fun. We had a lot of fun during that camp. It was very restful. Like the participants said that it was very calming. Like we would do the plant teachings, and then we would do like kind of like art therapy, and they really enjoyed that. We ate a lot of food, a lot of country food. What else do we do? There's so much stuff that we do. It's so fun. We offered a beading program for adults in Baker last year. And then Iqaluit, they do the drop-in space at the Tupek at the tent at Sylvia Grinnell. is it Sylvia Grinnell? I forget the Inuktitut name. Yes, that. That is a drop-in program for families with FASD or neurodiversity. We also have a caregiver support group, which is mainly online right now through Facebook because of COVID. So we're still slowly moving to like in-person programming or support groups. That's a private group. You can search for it, and but it's a private group. You have to be approved to be in the group. We also have the Qaujimajatuqangit Caregiver Program, which is a FASD group for, FASD education, parenting skills, and individualized accommodation planning for parenting children, youth, adults with FASD. It's offered in both full-day sessions and over 8 evening sessions. It's a skill building and support program for caregivers of individuals with FASD. What else is there? So all our programming is offered in Inuktitut in English. Let me think of.
Gosh,
Yes.
this is amazing. I am so amazed. This is about this programming. I'm so overwhelmed. I see we're on our last slide here to wrap up before we ran out of time, but I feel like I could sit here all afternoon and listen to you. So I'll give you guys just a few more sound bites to wrap up, and then we can, but I sure feel like I'm gonna have some follow-up questions for you later on.
We have the Piruqatigiit Community Respect Caregiver Training Program. So it was offered in 3 different ways. There was the Nunavut-wide 12-week pre-employment program, where if I was in school that time, I remember that when people from all over Nunavut flew to Iqaluit to take the program through Piruqatigiit. They even did a placement. I remember that too. I remember one of my friends was taking it. Then they also did a Nunavut-wide 7-week online pre-employment program for the Piruqatigiit Respect Caregiver Training Program. And then last year we condensed it and we did a 3-week pre-employment program in Baker Lake for the locals. So learners receive extensive training on how to support a child or individual with FASD or other neurodiversities. And I had a partner, one of our participants' partners, it really touched my heart when they told me that they seen a change in their partner taking the program. And I was like, oh, wow, thank you. But this is what we need in Nunavut, is we need respite care because it's not available for Nunavut mute. And especially me, like I have a child with ADHD who lives with ADHD. So I often need respite care. So I knew how important it was for all of Nunavut mute. But I'm very proud of Piruqatigiit, and I'm happy to have seen Piruqatigiit grow for the last 5 years, and I'm happy to be a part of it. But it was fun.
Adrian.
Wow. Thank you so very much, Adrian, Jennifer, team. Like, this was just an absolutely remarkable presentation. I just want to thank you all so very much for your presentation today, for joining us. And I really hope you'll join us in future webinars. You know, I was really struck. I just have to comment when you talked about innovation, almost as like a character trait. You guys talk about kind of as a way of being, not something you do. And when you use the word fun, I thought, gosh, I need to come and spend some time in your community. I could learn a lot. I want to have some fun with you guys. So thank you for sharing that. For our attendees, to get more information on CanFASD and to stay in the know with respect to all the upcoming webinars, please check out our website at www.canfast.ca or follow us on our social media channels to find our resources. Otherwise, thank you again so much for the amazing presentation. Congratulations, Jennifer, to you, your entire team, and all the presenters here today. I'm sure that we will be following up with further webinars with you. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye-bye, and have a great rest of your day.